Trial of Zim, I call him Zim Boy. I want to honor him with calling him a man, that stalked and murdered Trayvon Martin in cold blood and was just acquitted. And I have a panel of really good, strong, black and one white man to talk about it. And I have Mr. George Stevenson. He has a program entitled Real Men Speak. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here.
And Mr. Damascene Pierre Paul, he's a manager, producer and manager at a Dam Dada Productions. Did I say that right? Dam Dada?
Dam Dada. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And we have Dr. Steve Jankovic, and he is a chiropractor and also a weight loss specialist. He's my weight loss specialist. And we're going to talk to these gentlemen about the trial and their feeling on the verdict. I feel very strongly about it. I have a Facebook saying that I post something every morning, and I was telling people that if it happened that the verdict came out in a way that we know was wrong, don't get too upset about it. And it's amazing because the next morning I was walking to the store that Sunday, I actually almost passed out, and I took it very hard. And I don't know if it was psychosomatic or because this white guy walked past me and he said something, I started punching him in the throat. I mean, I don't know what he said, but I was like, you talking to me? So I was a little bit sensitive about it. I'd like to know, I'll start with you, George, as a black man, as a man, period, how did you feel about that? And were you surprised at the verdict?
I was somewhat surprised at the verdict, but then again, I wasn't surprised. We're dealing with the judicial system, and we don't know how it's going to work. I mean, the defense, the prosecutors, everybody did what they were supposed to have done for the most part.
Okay, did you watch the trial?
In part,
okay.
Not entirety.
Okay.
But it's a collective of information, and we don't know how it's going to process until the end.
Okay, now do you think they should try to take it further? Do you think that they should go to civil court with it? How do you feel about that?
Sure, why not? I mean, if it's in your rights, sure. If you're not satisfied, sure.
Okay. And how about you, Damascene?
Well, it was quite interesting to see how the case evolved, but I have a theory on this whole Trayvon
Okay,
situation.
now did you watch the whole trial?
I watched it in parts.
Okay,
yes,
so
I did.
did I.
And the sad thing I feel that's coming from it is that I think it should ignite black people in a sense that we need to take control of our community. And my theory is, I think that now that we see that a young man was, slaughtered, murdered, or lynched in a modern way, I think that black people now need to take this energy and go into our communities and police our communities much better.
Right.
With town watches, getting involved with community organizations in the local communities, and really stopping the crime.
Okay.
Because in Philadelphia, and we know in other cities, people don't believe in snitching. But yet if that's your mother or that's your cousin that was just murdered or ran over by a car, you want someone to speak up.
Right.
So I think we should encourage that kind of community organization again with this case. It should propel us to come closer, not to just march and protest about, that was wrong that this white man did it. Well, okay, black kids and black people are killing each other randomly all day long. So let's take that energy and let's get these community leaders and these black leaders out here. Let's go and stop it in our community first.
Now, were you surprised at the verdict?
No.
Okay. Why?
I wasn't, because it was a slam dunk case. Okay. It was something that automatically this man, he was told by the 911 operator,
exactly,
do not follow.
Exactly.
But this man took the initiative to still be a vigilante and to go out here and try to attack this kid. So to me, I don't know. I don't understand what they were deliberating. I have no idea.
Exactly.
The man, to me, it seemed simple. Yeah.
And Dr. Steve is our token white guy. I just, it's so, this has divided the races, honestly. From this, it has. I've lost some white friends over this because to me, it's common sense. What do you feel?
And what's funny, because I'm processing what you both said, and you both were kind of like not surprised. And I was definitely surprised.
Wow.
Because, and again, now I'm thinking, okay, is it because I'm white and I just expected him to be guilty? And then I'm thinking, well, maybe you guys didn't think he'd be guilty because it was a black victim.
Wow.
You know, so I don't know if that's maybe where your thought process goes with that. But I was shocked because the whole thing is he shot him.
Right.
He was told not to get out of the car.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and we had the conversation. There was so many things that he could have done. He could have rolled down his window and said, "What are you doing? Where are you going?"
Right.
That would have been a lot better than, following him and then eventually killing him.
Now, Dr. Steve, do you? Because, like I said, I've lost friends over this. Honestly. Of course, everybody's not going to think the same way that I do, and I respect that. But with something like this is common sense. This is common sense that George Zimmerman should have stayed in his car.
Well, and again, the other thing is 50% of the jurors basically said he was guilty.
Right.
So how did that happen?
It might have been
Right.
common sense to some folk, but not to all. I mean, the practicality of it, looking at it from a point where someone was given an order to assist or not to pursue. And this
not
person decided to just take it
non-professional.
against authority and do what he wanted to do. You know, I want to piggyback on what you said about, what we're going to take from, what are we going to take away from this? For me, it's about getting educated now. Okay. What happened to Trayvon was tragic. It was devastating. But there's something good that comes out of bad.
Okay.
So now, do we teach our young men especially, and not just black, but all young men, how to negotiate better? How to get themselves out of harm's way whenever possible? Thinking, just not reacting. There has to be something that comes from this.
And I understand that, but you're 17 years old, you have iced tea and Skittles, you're going home and you don't expect for some creepy white guy to be following you.
True.
And the thing is, he didn't know who that guy was. He didn't know what he was going to do to him. So they're trying to say that he fought. He probably fought for his life because he didn't know what this guy was going to do. But I find it interesting that you thought that justice would prevail. Because you saw what happened.
That's what I was thinking. I'm wondering if that's why your thought process.
And is it because you are a black man and you've seen black men, not valued?
I don't see it.
in
I don't see
society?
it that way. When I'm listening to the case, however I listen to it, I'm looking at the facts. I'm listening to the facts.
Okay.
They brought out people of importance, forensic experts. They went and got Top Gun people. Okay. How many of us really study law? How many of us really understand law? Okay, a lot of people don't understand the difference between a 12 juror and a 6 juror.
Okay.
Okay.
But the thing is, aside from all of that, knowing the law and how the law works, aside from all of that, I didn't watch the trial. I watched maybe a minute or so, the whole thing. I just couldn't watch it. But aside from everything, I don't think that it was brought out enough about Zimmerman. Trayvon Martin was on trial, not George Zimmerman.
Mm-hmm.
George Zimmerman had a history of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
George Zimmerman had smoked weed before. He had drank before. We don't even know if he was high then. We don't know had he been drinking then. We don't know what was going on with him because he was released and able to go home. Okay, so no matter how you look at the law, this man was told not to follow this kid. So I don't care who you are, if you're looking at it like that, George Zimmerman should not have been acquitted. And let me just get back to you as a black man, as what Dr. Steve was saying, like he's thinking like a white man, that justice should prevail because it should, okay? And you as a black man, you weren't surprised by the verdict, and why weren't you?
Well, because I have a theory that it's two Americas. I believe that there is an America that wants you to prosper, to be successful no matter what your color, as long as you're intelligent, you're spiritually sound. there's America for that personality. Then I believe there's the other America that don't care of any other ethnic race. They're extremely racist. They want to put you in the box, and really they still consider you less than a human being.
Okay.
So from my experience, because I work a lot with the young men in Philadelphia, I've been doing it for about 20 years or so. I have a football program, and I find that a lot of them, they're actually creating all these prison systems so they can put these young men into them. And no disrespect to the hip hop community and the hip hop music, a lot of that music with the lyrics is extremely demonic. And it's encouraging these young men to continue like life, there's no value for life. So go ahead and keep killing each other because we're gonna put you in jail or it's gonna be less of you out here. So that's the America that I'm very focused on, is that America. I don't disagree with the doctor, because I do agree justice should have been served, but being a person of color, we know about it. You know, we know what it is. We're not sleeping. So we're aware that this justice system, it works sometimes, but most of the time it doesn't.
Now, you said that you coach a Little League football team. What is the name of the?
Actually, it's a young adult program. This is development of football. It's called the Philadelphia Panthers. The name of the league is the LCFL, stand for LaBelle Community Football League. And what we do is we help young men understand character, discipline. We teach them how to use all that aggression within the rules of the game. So, and one of the programs, one of the teams we have is the Philadelphia Panthers here in Philadelphia. And a lot of these kids are kids who don't go to college, but they have a lot of aggression. And one of the things that we found that these young men want is they just want love. And when you're a man and you know how to exchange love with another young man, he's humbled by that in a respectful way. And he reacts and he listens to that. So I find that to be very interesting.
Now, did you talk to any of them about this case?
Actually, I did,
And
just last night.
What were their views?
You know what? It's almost like they were numb. When I talked to the young men, they just sat there, and it looked like they were like dazed. I was speaking a foreign language, and I had to really like tell my players, and they were like, "Yeah, coach," but then they completely tuned out. It's almost like they under some kind of hypnosis or something. Yeah. So it's quite. But you know, being supposedly their elder, I'm real passionate about it, because you know we wouldn't have never accepted. Even you growing up, we would have never accepted injustice like this. So it's amazing to me.
And you know, I had a young guy here. I had a panel. And the young guy was saying that we were saying how now the youth of today, they're not afraid of their mothers, they're not afraid of the neighbors, they're not afraid of the police officers. And the guy said that because they don't respect him.
Wow.
You know, how can you expect for somebody to respect you and you don't respect them? And when you talk to them, you talk to them out of anger. Boy, go get that trash can and bring it in the house. Instead of saying, son, can you go get the trash can?
That's right.
You know, you talk to them with anger. The police, they could be sitting on their step. What are you guys doing? You're up to no good. And they don't respect that. I'm sitting here with my friends. I'm not doing anything. You know, so I think that a lot of these young black men and older black men, you know, you don't get enough respect.
Well, and with that goes along with what I was saying. Why didn't he roll down his window and say, where are you going? What are you doing? Where are you going?
Right.
Do you live here? Does your family live here? Simple.
And then
And everybody would have been able to go home.
exactly, and I doubt if Trayvon Martin would have jumped in the car and drove them out. You know, he could have just rolled the window back up and sat there and waited for the police.
Well, I'm also listening to
but the
what
thing
you.
is, even at that, it's like, at that point, why call the police? If he said his father lived in the neighborhood, I'm going to my dad's house.
Right.
Right.
False alarm.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Doctor, speaking of that, and during the case, they let you listen to some of George Zimmerman's conversation with 911, and he actually was making a lot of remarks, saying like, you know, they always get away with stuff, and the question is, who is always getting away with stuff? So it seems like he already had like a motive, like he knew that this black kid, because he kept saying something about their community is always getting robbed, but this kid lived in this gated community.
Right.
So you're right, and he was instructed just to leave it alone.
Stand down.
So that's, stand down, exactly. So it's very interesting.
And there should have been some kind of penalty for that. The police told you to stay in your car, do not pursue, and you're going to pursue anyway. You defied a direct order from the police, and this young man winds up dead.
Well, my question is, could Trayvon have done something different? You know, and I speak about that, and I spoke about the part about negotiating. You spoke about some of the young men, what their thoughts are. They're not afraid, okay? They want respect, but they're not willing to give respect. But there has to be some kind of device or some nucleus that's built inside of us that learns how to negotiate. Because we have to be able
years
to.
old, though.
But that's okay though,
You're
because
coming back with Skittles and iced tea.
But it
You're not
doesn't-
expecting for
Right.
somebody to stop you. Your thought process is not processing, what should I do?
But even at 17 years old, there should have been something instilled in him that would have been reactive
You
to
what was
saving
instilled in
his
him
life.
At that time, fear.
Possibly, but fear.
This creepy white guy is following me at 2 o'clock in the morning.
But
Fear.
But could that fear trigger him to run? And if he did try to run once, he should have kept
Well, now,
running.
you know what, they also brought out, I was listening to his parents, and they were saying that his brother or someone was at home, and he didn't want the guy to follow him to his home. You know, because he didn't know who this guy was.
But that's that part of negotiating within his mind to say, I need to get to safety, and I don't care where I go, I just need to get to safety. If this nut's following me, I'm going to run till I can't run no more, and I'm going to run to safety.
But okay, how about this? Trayvon was standing his ground. How about that? How about that?
Well, but the thing is, and then let's say this, he could have even been nasty about it and said, leave me alone, I'm going home.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, because
Exactly.
and the thing that bothers me also, if this guy's like neighborhood watch, he doesn't really know his neighborhood.
Exactly.
But standing your ground doesn't mean that you stand and fight. Standing your ground says that I'm going to stand for what's right and I'm going to do what's right in the midst of what I think is wrong. You know, standing your ground, what does that really mean?
When I say Trayvon was standing his ground, I mean that he had a right to be where he was at. Okay? It's not like he should not have been there.
Okay.
It's not like he lived in another neighborhood.
I got that
He
part.
was there with his father. So he had a right to be there. Okay? As far as the thought process, if someone is following me at night, at my age, 40 plus, whatever, I don't know what I would do. I would be fearful for my life. I don't know what your thought process goes out the window. You have seasoned police officers that when they get into situations of crime, they've been trained. A lot of times out of fear, they react in a negative way. So we're asking a 17-year-old to process something that even an adult may not have been able to process fully. And I understand your point, I respect that, but I'm just thinking that at that moment, there's so many emotions that could have been going through that young man's mind.
This is true. I mean, I'm not denying the fact that there were a lot of emotions going through his mind. You know, but if somebody pulls a gun out on you, somebody wants to rough you up, somebody approaches you, and you don't know these people, your first defense mechanism is going to be protect myself, do what's necessary. You know, there's a saying that says, "He who learns to run away learns to live another day." Okay, so these are those typical scenarios that were painted in my life as a youngster. You know, my parents equipped me with some stuff so that I can get myself out of harm's way, because in the gang war era back in the day, we got caught up in different turfs. We had to get out.
Respect.
We didn't have nobody to rescue us or a phone call. We didn't have no cell phones.
Right.
So we had to learn how to improvise that.
So, and what do you think about that? If somebody, even you, were following you 2 o'clock in the morning, how do you think that you would have reacted?
Well, the funny thing is, I actually would think at that age, and even at this age, if I felt I was being followed, I probably would try and run and hide. You know?
Hello.
And if I saw a gun, you know, hands up.
Right. And how about
But
you, Damascene?
Well, according to the case, he did run.
Okay.
Trayvon did run, and George Zimmerman pursued him.
Okay.
And also listening to the audio tape, he was on the phone, I think, talking to his girlfriend, and
Yeah.
there was shouts of him saying, "Help, help me!" And that was Trayvon's voice. I'm sorry, that was not George Zimmerman crying for help.
Right.
So I think he did exactly what you suggested, and he did run. I think this man hunted him. I think we could sit here and we could try to ponder what Trayvon did or whatever. I think the young man did what he was supposed to do. This man was hunting him, and this man killed and stalked this kid. So,
Exactly.
and we all, as honest American citizens, we want to see justice, and that's just not what happened.
And I think that I do today feel very sad. I feel very sad, and I feel sad for young black men, because now you're telling them your life means nothing.
Right.
You've already told them that in subtle ways all their lives, and now you're polarizing it. Your life means nothing. Someone can shoot you and get away with it. I feel that the races, for a moment, have won, and it's a shame because I'm a Facebook girl, and on Facebook there's so much anger, and the races are out there, and they're saying that yeah, we won, and the N-word is just flying all over the place, and hatred is just spewing and from these people, and as I said, some of these people that I thought were my friends, and they're saying these N-word stuff, and how can you really be my friend if you're spewing this kind of hatred?
But wouldn't it have been any different? Would it have been any different if it was black on black?
You know what? What would have been different if Trayvon was white and George Zimmerman was who he is? He would not have been a white man. He would have been that Puerto Rican or that Spic, or whatever. A white boy. Okay? That's what it would have been, and it would have been a whole different case.
But it's so non-acceptable when differences of colors have conflicts, but it's acceptable when white people of color have differences. I mean, we're losing more young African American men daily than most classes of people in the country.
Right.
Every morning you wake up, you hear about one of the younger ones of us getting killed innocently.
Well, I had a girlfriend of mine.
Relentlessly.
Her son went to a party, and he stepped in the guy's shoe, and he apologized. The guy actually went home and came back with a gun and shot him in the head.
Right.
He stepped on his shoe and he apologized.
But that's because of the mentality. That's because of the age. Zimmerman is no different from Trayvon. They both were young. They were both stupid.
Here's the
They done some
difference,
dumb stuff.
Zimmerman was 29, Trayvon was
That's
17.
okay.
Big difference.
Sometimes,
and raised differently.
but you can
Very
have,
different.
like I said earlier with the doc, you can have an old man and a young boy in an old man's body. His mind wasn't right.
His mind wasn't right exactly.
His mind was
but
not right.
George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin were two different entities,
Mine was not
totally.
right.
Now, what do you think about that? Are you aware of, do you hear, do you read, do you see what goes on in the black community? Are you aware of the black on black crime situation, Dr. Steve?
Yeah, I am. I mean, you can't watch the news, especially in Philadelphia. And how often do you hear like a drive-by and somebody under 10 years old accidentally gets shot while he or she were riding their bike or sitting on the stoop? I mean, it's just a shame. I mean, and again, there's no respect. Just driving down the street and shooting. I mean, people don't think about the consequences of what they're doing.
Right. Exactly.
And again, and maybe the way I was raised, I don't see I wasn't sitting there saying, Trayvon's black and, Zimmerman's white or Hispanic, whatever. I didn't, I don't look at it that way. But, again, it happens, and it's, especially in the Philly area, it could be happening right now as we're taping this show.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But you still, with this, you still think that it wasn't injustice?
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, depending on what state you're in, you could be sitting in your house with a gun on the table, and somebody comes in and they come running after you, and if you shoot them in your house, you're going to jail.
Wow. And with that, gentlemen, I would say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
George,
Thank you.
Thank you so
Damascene, and
much.
Dr. Steve, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being patient and waiting and giving me your point of views. And hopefully I'll have all you guys back, in a panel talking about other things. And thank you for looking at this edition of Salima Speaks. And remember, love yourself, love others, and don't forget to stretch that body. Thanks.